Good evening. Oh, I can see you all coming in at once. Lovely. So good evening, everyone. This is my last release for 2025. As always, I'll give it a few minutes, give people a chance to join in. I've got a few bits and pieces to show you tonight. How are we all doing? We all good? I can see lots of you coming in. Excellent. I can't keep up with your names. I'm seeing names fly up the screen. Hey, Stampers Grove. Hi, Rachel. So as I said, I do like to give it a few minutes. Hey, Katie, and then we will get started. So for you tonight, I have 2 stamp sets. I have 2 stencils, 2 large stencils, and then I've got 8 minis to share with you tonight. And I will do that the way that I normally do it. So I'll share the stamps and stencils first. Hey, Lynette. Hey, Natalie. So I will share with you the stamps and stencils first so that you can see what I've got. Very often I cross over in my samples, so I just find it much easier to show you what I've got first, and then I'll show you the samples afterwards that I've made. Yeah, I will see you very, very soon, Natalie. I'm looking forward to it. I'm off to Scrapbook Suntrail in Montreal the weekend of the 7th, 8th and 9th of November to teach. We've got 4 classes booked for there, so it should be fun. Hey, Michelle. So do remember that if you are looking for stockists for the stamps and stencils, do check out the feed, because our retailers which are online and watching at the moment will put in there links to their stores. They will say where they are and links to their stores, so that you can purchase from them. And at the end of the blog post, which went live half an hour ago, there is a list of stockists on there, so do check those out. Hey, Charlene. Yeah, I'm going to be heading to Paper and Ink Boutique as well in Calgary in 2026. So that's something to look forward to. I'm looking forward to that. Hey, Helma. So as I said, let's give it another minute or so. I can see lots of you joining in, and then we'll get started. Hey, Marianne. Morning, Susan. Yeah, obviously I'm saying good evening because it is evening here in the UK. It's very, very dark now as well. We're definitely going into autumn months. It's very dark. It's very cold. It's cold tonight. Don't like it. Hey, Anita. But obviously I know for some of you guys it's first thing in the morning. It might be afternoon. But it's nice to have you all here anyway. I know some of you will be watching on catch up as well. So Natalie, Scrapbook Suntrail, has just put a link in the feed for the classes that I'm teaching there in November. So if you are in the area and you want to come along to one or maybe all of them, then do check out the link which is in the feed. Morning, Chelsea. How are you? Hey, Joanne. Okay, so I think we are going to get started. I'll show you what I've got. I'll show you the samples. I do not intend keeping you too long tonight. I'm going to try my best. I think I've not got quite so many quite so many samples. So so we might be okay. We could be all right. Bear with me a second. I'm just going to put the camera up just a little bit. That's better. It will probably drop back down again, but you know. Right, okay, so let's get started. So I have two new stamp sets for you this time. So I have TS102. So TS102, you will see, has quite a seasonal vibe to it. You know, we are coming up to Christmas, and it does have a very seasonal vibe. However, you know me, I don't like to do things that are just seasonal. So I have got some ideas for this which are not seasonal at all. I have done some seasonal things with it, of course, because it would be silly not to at this time of year and use them for that. But there are other things that you can do with it as well. I've teamed it with some of my other stamp sets, so I'll explain that as we go on. And you'll see that in the samples where I've used some of my older stamp sets as well. This one works really, really well with one of my, well, it was one of my first ever stamp sets, which was TS003. So TS003, this just works amazingly with. So let me just grab it, just so that you can see. So TS003. TS003 is this one, which was the Gothic Bloom stamp set. This was my very, very first release with PaperArtsy. Okay, so this one works really, really well. It works really well. Okay, and it goes perfectly with this one. You can see it's a similar kind of shape flowers, so you can see even though this has more of a seasonal vibe to it, it certainly doesn't have to be. And I'll show you, I've actually used these together. I will show you what they look like when they are teamed together as well. Okay, so you know me, I like to be using my older stamp sets as well, and my older stencils, and we are very, very fortunate with PaperArtsy is that nothing is ever discontinued. So this could be a stamp set that you have had sitting in your stash for a long, long, long time, and it's going to give you an opportunity to get it out again. I am teaching a class with this using both of these stamp sets and an additional stamp set. I'll show you that when we come to it. At Forget Me Not Craft Cabin on Saturday, and also at Scrapbooks on Trail. So it's nice that we can go back and use older stamp sets. And obviously with some brands you wouldn't be able to do that. With PaperArtsy, you know, we can do that because it's always available to order again. So if you've got that stamp set 003, you are going to be able to get that back out, and you're going to be able to use it in conjunction with this stamp set. I have also used with this stamp set, so we'll talk about these first. So with this stamp set, I have also used TS074. So I've used all the cogs and gears from TS074 to give them those flowers a more steampunk vibe. And again, I will show you that as we come to the samples. But I just want you to kind of see that it's not a one-off. It doesn't have to be just a seasonal vibe, okay? You know me, I like to be able to use my stuff all year round, and not only use it all year round, but use it in different ways as well. So we'll kind of look at that as we come to the samples. So let me just put that to one side. So that is TS102. So seasonal, it's got a very seasonal look to it. You know, you can kind of see the flowers, you can kind of see the holly leaves, the berries. We've got some berries going on. We've got some additional leaves, so these mean that we can expand our flowers, which is great. Okay, so that is TS102. Next we have TS103. So TS103 is the ephemera. So I've been looking at doing an ephemera set for quite some time. It's been on my list, oh, probably for a good couple of years, but I didn't really want a vintage vibe. I don't really do vintage vibe. So I had to kind of think about how I was going to do it in my own way. So we've got the frame, so it's like a Polaroid frame. We've got the postage stamp and we've got the ticket. Then we've got some individual words that can be cut out in different fonts. We have the butterfly, we have the ladybug, we have the little flower, we've got the postage mark and the postage mark. Okay, so all of these will fit, you know, they're going to fit into your frames. The words will fit into your frames. So it means that you can change it around. And of course, not only do these stamps fit into the frames, but other stamps are going to fit into the frames as well. So one of the things that I did was the little mini, so the mini girl stamps, all three of the mini girl stamps. I've actually left one of them downstairs, but all three of my small mini doll stamps will fit inside the Polaroid frame. And I do have a sample where I've done that. I actually finished that today. So I will show you that when we come to the samples. The same, you know, go through lots of certainly lots of my stamp sets. We have larger elements. I have a lot of larger elements on my stamp sets, but I also have lots of small filler stamps on my stamp sets. Go through your stamp sets. Lots of the filler stamps are going to fit inside these frames, which means the possibilities are going to be endless, you know, for what you can put in there. I think this one would be really cool as well. I think this one would work really well for scrapbooking. So, you know, if you're more of a scrapbooker than a art journaler, these are going to work really well for photos as well. So, they will, you know, you can cut them out, you can add your photos to them, you can mix and match with other stamp sets, and you're going to be able to create some really cute scrapbook pages as well. Yeah, it will, Michelle. That's a good one. So Michelle's just said it will work really well with planners. Yes, it will work really well with planners. You know, if you've got lots of word stamps, we all have word stamps, you know, and quote stamps, etc. They're all going to fit into these frames, so we can use them like that as well. But the dolls fit really nice, and I have done a sample using the dolls, so I'll show you that as we get to it. So that is TS 103, which is the ephemera, the frames and ephemera. Okay, so moving to stencils, I've got two stencils for you this time with this release. So the first one is PS489. So PS489 is the expanding flower. So this one works really well for a background. It's going to work really well for a full page. It's going to work really well for a cut page. It's going to work really well for colouring in, because it's got these, you know, it's going to work on your gel plate because it's got lots of big open spaces. So you can use it just in your background. You can use just small parts of it. It doesn't have to be the whole thing, but it's going to work really well for your gel plate. It's going to really well for cut pages. You know, you can use it to colour in, you can use it to doodle in the spaces, just because it has got all of those big areas. So there's lots, you know, there's lots that you can do with that one. I've used it on a couple of pages in the background. I've also used it as a cut page as well, and I'll show you that when we get to the samples. So that is PS489. So the second stencil is PS490. So PS490 is the different size pebbles. So I know Alison did a pebble stencil as well. So maybe these could even work together. And I've done different sizes. So I've got different size pebbles. I've got 3 different sizes. These work really, really well in a mixed media background. They're going to work really well with texture paste. These larger ones you could doodle in. You could certainly colour them in. They're going to work, you know, they're going to work fantastic. They're going to work with, you could stamp inside, so you could colour and then stamp maybe a text stamp inside to give a different detail. There's lots and lots and lots that you can do with this one. They could be coffee beans, Linda, you're right. They would work really well actually as coffee beans, now that you've said that. So pebbles, stones, whatever you want to call them, coffee beans. But we've got those ones which we can use. Lots and lots of different ways to use those. So that's PS 490. Then we move on. I've got 8 new minis. Oh, candy corn. That's a good idea. Yeah. Didn't think of that one, but then we don't do that quite as much over here, do we, in the UK? So okay, so moving on to minis. I've got a mix of minis this time. I've got some mark making minis and I've got some focal images. And not only focal images, they can be used for backgrounds, etc. as well. You know, I like things to be multi-purpose. So my first one is TSM 33, so Mini 33, and that is the, we can turn it that way or we can turn it that way, it doesn't matter, and it's the scribble writing. So scribble writing looks really, really cool in the background. I've used that in a couple of my backgrounds. I'll show you that as we get to it. Okay. Scribble background. Of course, it doesn't say anything before anybody asks. It says nothing whatsoever. So next one, TSM 34. So I kind of thought when I was doing these minis and when I was thinking about what mark making I wanted, I was kind of thinking of things that I use most or that I would use most. Okay, so scribble writing, 100% going to use that. The next one is TSM 34. So TSM 34 is a really cute swirl. Of course, that is going to be mega useful. I have used that in quite a few of my samples. I will show you that as we get to them, but it's fantastic for backgrounds. It's going to be fantastic on a card. It would be fantastic on a scrapbook page, on your art journals, you know, you name it, it's going to work. Okay, so TSM 34, and that is the swirl. So TSM 35, you've got to have dots. You've got to have dots somewhere, haven't you? This has got to be, or I can see this is going to be one of my most used stamps. I can see it's going to happen because already I've been using it a lot. So TSM 35, and that is the dots. And of course you can use this randomly in a background. You can also use it repeated to create a complete background. And I have done that on one of my samples, and I will show you that as we get to the samples. So TSM 35, that is the dots, okay? So TSM 36. TSM 36, we've got some little flowers. There's got to be some flowers in there somewhere, hasn't there? So we've got this little triangle flower, or it's a triangle, it's a flower, and it's got these little swirls on the corners, which obviously you can cut those away. So if you want to cut those away, you can. You've got the smaller flower on its own, so that we've got 2 of those. I have got a sample where I've used them. I did some patterns with these. I've also used them to create a background, and I've used them where I've just cut them out. So we'll go through that. Of course, you can cut the little swirls off, or you can leave it on there. But it does mean if you leave those swirls on and you've got this triangle kind of shape, you can create some really cool patterns with it. So, but we'll go through that. They're always going to be handy. Flowers are always going to be handy. I use flowers for everything. So TSM 36 is the flowers. Next one, TSM 37. So we've already got the dots. We've got the circle dots. I wanted some square dots, because square dots just give you something very different. So very similar to the circles, but they give you a completely different look because they're little squares. You can see they're kind of little off squares, but the squares, they just work really well. I've used those with embossing powder, a couple of times with embossing powder. I've also used them just with ink. You could use it, or you could use them on a gel plate to remove some of your paint from the gel plate. It's going to give you a really cool patterning going on. Okay, so that is number 37, which is the square dots, solid squares. TSM 38, so this one's a little bit different. TSM 38, we have the cute little robin. Cute little robin. I kind of thought to myself, and he's got his little crown on, look at him. He's very, very cute. And I kind of thought, seeing as my stamp set 102 has got a bit of a seasonal vibe, I thought it would be quite nice to have a little birdie that could go with that. However, of course, as with anything, I have coloured him up on my sample as a robin. Okay, he's got a red front, etc, etc. However, if you colour him up in different colours, or colour her up in different colours, it's going to look completely different. You're going to be able to use it all year round. You don't just have to use it as a seasonal. You know me, I don't like there to be only one reason to be using it, okay? You are going to be able to use this for other times of year as well, okay? So that is TSM 38, and that is the little birdie, the little robin. So TS 39. TS 39, we have a little butterfly and a little bumblebee. So these are going to be fantastic for adding to all of your pages. You know, any little pages that you have, they're gonna work with that. I've done some patterns with these. I haven't done that many patterns, but I have done some patterns. You can use them as a focal point. You can use them just in your backgrounds. But they're very, very cute. They're very cute. They're going to be very useful, and they're going to go really well with all of your existing flower stamps. I already have various, you know, butterflies, various bees, etc. They're going to go with all of those. So they're going to be a really nice addition to some of the stamps that you might already have. So that is TSM 39. And then my last one, which is my last mini, which is TSM 40. So TSM 40 is a little mini, it's a little mini alphabet. Okay, it works fantastically in the background. They will work, the little the bumblebee and the little butterfly do work with the frames. I have used them with the frames, and I have got a sample where I've used them with the frames, so I'll show you that as we get to it. So the last one, as I said, TSM 40 is a little mini alphabet. So you've got the alphabet on there, you've got the numbers on there. Of course, it's going to be really useful. You can just use this in your backgrounds. It's always nice to have a little bit of text in a background, always. Morning, Mel. Must be really early over there. Yeah, so alphabet, always going to be handy. It's going to be great for in your backgrounds. It's always nice to have a little bit of text in your background. I've used that in a couple of the backgrounds that I've got. I'll show you that as we get to it. So that is it, TSM 40. So we've got the 2 stamp sets, the 2 stencils, and we've got the 8 minis this time. So what I'm going to do first, I've got my little composition book. I haven't used my composition book for a little while. And I've not done a lot. I only did a few. This was kind of very last minute. I kind of sat down and just did a few patterns just to see what they would do. I am probably going to sit down tomorrow and do some more because I kind of ran out of time. In the end. So, just a few little patterns, as I said, just to see what they would do. So this one was just using the 2 little flowers. So just the 2 little flower stamps. You can see I've used the triangle flower, which is the larger one, and then the smaller one just to add some details. So you can see this would be really nice, tone on tone. This would be really nice. You could make a whole page for colouring in. You know, I've picked out a few different colours just to kind of show you. As I said, this was very, very last second. You know, this was very last minute. Just come on, throw something down. Let's see what they can do pattern wise. As I said, I've not got out my composition book for a little while, so I need to sit and do some more of that. So again, this one, just very, very quick, but I think this one would make a really good colouring page. Just do a whole page of the butterflies. Of course, you could stagger them. I've just done them in rows. You could stagger them and do a whole page for colouring in, you know, so that when you're on the go somewhere, you can just, if you've got everything stamped out, you can just play. You know, you can just play with your pencils. You don't need a lot of stuff. You can see I've kind of stamped and then I've gone in between with black pen just to pick out some detail. Okay, these were just very, very quick, as I said. Next one. So again, this was using the butterfly. So I've used the butterfly stamp and I've also used the postmark stamp from the ephemera set. So you can see this looks really cool. This would look really cool on a page. You could certainly do this as a colouring page as well, so that you could play around and colour in. Okay, we all know I love a bit of colouring. I love to have something to colour in. I've only got 2 more in the pattern book. I didn't get to do very much, as I said. This one, so this one, what a cool pattern this is. And this is using those 2 small stamps from the little flowers, the little mini. Okay, so you can see, again, I've got the triangle mini, which creates this really cool shape. And then I've just stamped the smaller ones in the middle. This would be a fantastic colouring page. I think if you did this all over the page, this would be a really cool one for colouring in. I love this one. I want to explore this stamp a little bit further, or the little mini stamp set. And then one more. So I was just having a play just to see, could I fit them together? Could I fit them together? Yes, I could. So this one is using, I've used the little mini, and obviously I could expand this. I've done this, I've kept this quite small, but I've used the 2 little flowers. I've also used the butterfly. I've used the bumblebee, and I've also used the little, this is the little flower and leaf stem from the ephemera set. So obviously there's some smaller stamps in that ephemera set which could be used for this kind of thing. So this could be expanded out as well to do a whole page. So that's something that we could certainly investigate further. As I said, I literally was running out of time, so I literally just had a quick play and just thought, right, let's just see, you know, let's just see what we can do. But as I said, I kind of ran out of time. That'll be something to play for another day. I will sit down. As I said, I haven't got out that book for a while, so I need to do that. So I also did some little backgrounds. So I just did some little coloured gold embossed backgrounds using the minis, just to kind of see how they would look just in a background. So you can imagine something like this could be made into a card. I've just used gold on this. Obviously you don't have to use gold. You could use silver, you could use white, you could use black, you know, whatever you like. But I just think they look really, really cool. So this is the butterfly from the mini set. Hey Lisa. So that is the butterfly from the mini set. And that is on, so that is cerulean paint. Okay, so that is on a cerulean paint background. So that's quite cool. And you can kind of see in behind it. So in behind it, I've done the same thing, and I have the little bumblebee. He looks really cool. They stamp really well with the embossing powder, really, really well. So that's the little butterfly and the little bee, and that is, so this is butternut. These are all my paint colours that I've done these on. So this one is butternut. Okay. Next one. So the paint colour is zinc. So that was a new paint colour from the last release, and I've done a background with the solid square dots. How cool does that look? I think it looks really, really cool with the gold in the background. So that's gold and the zinc paint. So I will probably use these at some point. I will use these backgrounds for cards. I'll make them into cards. I might make them into a small journal. I might make them into a mini journal. So that is the solid square dots. So this one is the little circle dots, because we love a circle. We love a circle. And you can see, just repeating them over and over again, you're getting a really nice, background, you know, solid background. You can obviously, I've used them in another sample, especially the dots. I've used them in another sample where I've just used them individually, and that's fine. But you can stamp over and over again. And this is on the Bermuda. So this is Bermuda paint. This one, so this is, let me see, this is the watermelon paint. So this is watermelon paint, and this is the little alphabet mini. So you can see, I haven't lined it up very well, I'm a bit rubbish, but you get the idea. And you put that with a you know, some sort of focal point on there, some flower, etc. I do love a flower. Would look really, really cool. And of course it's going to work really well in your backgrounds as well. But I just wanted to kind of get them down to see what they would look like. That is the watermelon paint. So watermelon paint was also a new release from July. So that was a brand new colour. So the next one I have is my prawn paint. Prawn paint with the swirls. How cool do those swirls look? I am absolutely loving those. I know that these are going to be a stamp that I use over and over and over again. And the gold with the prawn paint really does, it really goes well together. Okay, so the gold swirls. These are all from the minis, as I said. So the gold swirls. Then this one is the new, so this is Peach Fuzz. So Peach Fuzz, again, was a new paint colour from July. And this is the scribble script. So the scribble script stamp. How cool does that look? And because you can overlap this, it doesn't matter, you can overlap, so you get a really nice large scribbled background. Goes really well with the peach paint as well. That's really cool. What have we got? I think we've got one more. Yeah, so one more, and that is the little flowers. So the two little flower minis, and I've done that. So this is the same pattern. So it's the same pattern, I believe. Let me grab my composition book. It is, I do believe it's the same pattern as this. So it's exactly the same pattern as this, but done with the gold embossing. So you can see it looks different because, you know, but you can do that. You can have it where it's a main feature, but you can also have it where it's just a background. So I think that's really cool. I need to explore this stamp set a little bit more. Certainly with the patterns. I need to do it with the patterns. So, let's see. Let me just gather these. So as I said, they are they're my paint colours, so all of those are from my paint palette. But how cool do they all look together? I think they would look really cool as a mini album. Maybe a focal point for each page. Maybe I'll do that. I think the colours are just amazing. Okay, so that's those. I also did a couple of other samples just with the little minis, just for a background, just to see what they would look like. I did this one. I haven't put anything on it yet, but this is another one. So this is using the swirl and a rainbow. How cool does that look? I am loving this. I am going to do more backgrounds in this technique because I just think it looks amazing. And again, so it's those swirls, you can create a whole background. I'm gonna make this into, you know, this was just a test piece. So I just did a little test on a scrap. I am going to make this into a whole art journal page. This is going to be a whole art journal page. It might even be a double page. I've not decided yet, but I absolutely love the way that this looks. Yeah, absolutely love it. Yeah, I just fell in love with it, Lisa. As soon as I did it, I knew that I wanted to do more. So I'm going to be doing more with that one. And that's, again, that's with the swirls. And then I've got this one. So this is just a background. I haven't put anything on it yet. But this is using a mix of the little stamps and using some of my older stuff as well. So this is just a simple background. So you can see on this background, I have older stencils. So these are my older swirl stencils. So they were out quite a long time ago. Quite a long time ago now. But you can see, so I've got the dots and I've just used those individually. So whereas the other sample, I used them to create a whole background. On this one, we've just got them individually in the background. You can also see, if I go in a little bit closer, you can see I have the alphabet is in there as well. And because they're what I call two different types of stamp in that, so one is the solid black dot, whereas the alphabet is a thinner, finer line. And because it's a thinner, finer line, you can stamp them over each other and they don't interfere with each other, they complement. So you can see I've got that in there as well. And I've also got, I'm hoping you can see it, I've got the little butterfly, so the mini butterfly I have got on there as well. And I've done that with a fluorescent pink embossing powder. How cool does that look? So I've not put a focal point on this yet. I need to think about what I'm going to put on there, but I'm sure I can think of something. And I don't know if you can see, you'll probably have to look a little bit closer, but if you look there, in a pink archival ink, I have stamped the swirl as well. I'm hoping you can kind of see it. It kind of sinks into the background a little bit, but it is on there because it goes really, really well with the swirl stencil that's in the background. Okay, so that's those for the minis. So moving on to a couple of the bigger samples. I've not got a ton. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got about 9 or 10 bigger samples to show. So first one, let's go with this one. So this one is using, let's bring it up first. Okay, so this one is a little bit seasonal. As we can see, we've got our little robin is sitting in there on our reef. Okay, and on this one, I have used, no wine tonight, Linda, no wine. I've been on a diet. Wine doesn't really go, does it? It doesn't work. So I've kind of had to make sacrifices. So, I've made a reef, okay, so you can see I've got the stamps from, let me grab them so that I can show you, because this is where I've kind of mixed and matched stamps together. So I have used the stamps from 102, okay, so you can see here I've used the big flower, but I've coloured it in green and used it as leaves, okay, so I've not used it as a flower in itself. I've used it as leaves sitting in the background, so he's kind of sitting on the top of that. This is my little robin from the mini set. You can see in the background, so these flowers and these smaller flowers, they are from TS003. So we've got 3 different size flowers in that set. We've actually got 4 different size, sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and I've used 3 of those. 3 of those on this page. So you can see I've used the larger flower, I've used the mid-size, and then the next size down to that. I've not used the tiny one, but you can see they're going all the way around. So even though that set, so TS003 is the Gothic blooms, and obviously if you looked at that stamp set, you would be thinking Gothic blooms. But of course it could be used for Christmas. You know, you can use it. You can use all of my stuff. All of my stuff can be used in other ways. Don't think of it in one way. So you can see, as I said, I've used the large flower from the new set 102. I've used the flowers from the Gothic Blooms set. I've used the little mini robin. I've got the berries, that's from the new set 102. And I've also got, so you'll notice on this set, you have these little extras. Okay, so these extras are so that you can use them as leaves. Okay, so if you want to use them as leaves, you can. And of course, you can use all of these as leaves. You can just stamp it once and just cut out, you know, you've got 8 leaves on there rather than repeat stamping. I used, I think it was 1 or 2 of these flowers and a mix. I think it was a mix of this and this for this page to add. So you've got different sizes. So what it means is, in effect, you've got 3 different size petals on this stamp set. But what it does mean as well is that you've got this centre. You can cut this out and just have it as a little flower. But what it also means is you can make additional flowers using the petals. Okay, so using the additional petals. So you could have different sizes. You can make this one bigger. So the whole idea of having the extra petals is that you can really bring this out. Okay, you can make it bigger. You've also got on there the smaller flower. Okay, so the smaller flower is the same. We've got that, and then we've got the 2 other petals in different sizes. So it just means that you can mix and match, and we can, you know, we can create something a lot bigger. This is jade. Yes, you're right. This is jade paint in the background. You can also see as well, if you look really close, you can see I've got the little alphabet in the background as well. And I did that I didn't want to do it in black because I didn't want it to stand out. I wanted it to kind of sit into the background. So I actually used a grey ink pad, and you can kind of see, if you look, it's just sitting in the background. So it just takes away from being a plain background. So this is jade paint. I think it goes into, so it's jade. I think it goes into, I want to say it goes into Sargasso, Bermuda, and Aqueduct in the middle. Okay, and this is also one of my previous stencils, and I didn't take it out, and I can't remember for the life of me what number it is, but you can see it's got the little berries on and it's got the leaves on. It's going to work really well with these to create a seasonal page. Okay, so that's my first larger sample, and as I said, we've used a mix. So we've used a mix of stuff on there. It's nice to be able to use your older stamp sets, your older stencils, you know, to do something. So the next one, where should we go next? Let's go with this one next. So this one, you will recognise, you'll recognise my little girl. So my little girl was from the last release. So again, I am mixing and matching. Yeah, I think if I remember rightly, Leandra, it's the stencil, it's the leaf stencil. It's got the tropical leaves. It's got tropical leaves on it, and I should have taken it out, and I didn't, and I don't want to try and find it now because it's probably tucked away somewhere, and I'm not sure where it is anyway. But okay, so I like to mix and match things. So you can see I have the swirl. So the swirl stamp is in my background. So the swirl stamp's in there. You can see my actual background. If you look at my background, there is a ton. There is an absolute ton of stuff going on in that background. Can you see? So you can see there I've got some gold, the gold alphabet. You can see the little flower stamp is in the background. You can see the square, the solid square dots are in the background. I'm hoping you can kind of see you've got some of the scribble writing, which is embossed in white. And then you've got some of my older stamps. So some of my older stamps are in there as well. Some of my older mark making. So these minis are going to just add to your, you know, to your existing stamps, the existing stamps that you've got. PS268, Lisa wins. Yeah, so it's, that is the leaf stencil that has got the berries on. So that is going to work. If you've got that, it's going to work fantastic. So you can see, you know, there's lots going on in this background, huge amount going on. I also use the alphabet to do the little word which says Disco Diva. Disco Diva, because she is a bit of a disco diva. And then what I did to finish it off, this is one of the mini flowers. So you can see this is one of the minis. And this big flower is, let me grab it again. So the big flower is this small flower, okay, from this set. And then using the 2 different size petals as well to expand it outwards. So it means that we end up with a nice big flower. And this flower doesn't look seasonal at all. Okay, so this is what I'm saying about, you know, it doesn't have to be. I know that I've done it and I've used it in a seasonal way on the sample with the robin, but it doesn't have to be. Okay, it doesn't have to be. So Leandra has just put a link to that stencil, the leaf stencil. So look, so you can see this doesn't look seasonal at all, and this has got a little spinner on it because I found some little spinners in my stash and decided that I needed to use them, and it just worked really well with her. So, you know, and like I said, I like to use up and mix and match all my stamps. So she just works really well with this sample. I love the black and white. I love the really vibrant background, and I love that I've mixed and matched with the previous stamp set as well. Okay, and as I said, this one does not look seasonal. You know, when you mix and match them together, it doesn't look seasonal. So you can use the stamps for other things. Do not think that it has to be for Christmas and that's it. I don't do that. You know, you've got to be able to use it in different ways. So my next one, let's go with this one a minute in my journal. So this one is a cut page. So this is a cut page. I've got a cut frame. I'm hoping that you can see I have used, so in the background, I'm hoping this is catching the light. That is the scribble stamp, and I have used a clear embossing with the scribble stamp all over that black background. So I'm hoping you can see that. I've also got the swirl stamp on the back as well. And then we've used that stencil to create a cut page. So it's like this one's like a cut frame. So it's a cut frame. I've also used that flower again, and it's got a little spinner on it in my journal. And also, so this is one of the little mini butterflies. So this is the mini butterfly. But again, I found those spinners. I've had to use them. I've got to find other things to use them for. How cool does that look? But anyway, so yeah, so we've got a nice cut page. You can see, and the colours that are in the background are, we've got coastal, we've got cerulean, we've got zinc, we have prawn, watermelon, and peach fuzz. So those are the colours that I've used in the background on that one. I wanted to show you that one first, get it out the way. Because that way I can take this out, I can hold this one up. So this one, this is the other page. So I wanted to do that one first. So this is the other page. So this is using the ephemera. Okay, so this is using the ephemera. You can see on there, I've got the frames where I've stamped the words. So you can see the words fit really well into those. They also fit into the tickets. You've got the postage mark. You've got the little flower will sit inside the postage stamp. This is the butterfly from the ephemera set. This is the little ladybug from the ephemera set, and then you've got the small butterfly and the small bumblebee from the minis. So those fit inside there as well. And you can see, as I said, you can see I've got some of the words. I'm hoping you can see that. Let's move it up a little bit closer. But I've got some of the words stamped into that as well. And it works really well with my previous release. So like I said, sometimes I have things lying around on my desk and I want to use them up. Well, it just lent itself with my ladybug girl and previous stamp sets. So this was a previous set, and obviously she was from the previous release. Okay, but the ephemera just worked really, really well. So I just knew that I needed to do a page where I used the ephemera and she was in the background. And of course you could do it in different colours. It doesn't have to be, you know, I think these would be really good on a scrapbook page as well, or a card. Yeah, we're doing this class in Scrapbook Centrale in Montreal. So this is going to be on the Sunday. It's a double pager. So this is going to be on the Sunday. Of course, you do not, if you are coming to that, you do not have to do a ladybug. You don't have to do a ladybug girl. I'm going to give you some options in class of other things that you can do, other types of girls. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, we've got that. I'm just seeing what I've got left. I've got a few bits left. Okay, let's go with this one. So this is a black and white one. This is using, so this is using set. I don't think I used anything else. Let me just double check and make sure I didn't use any of the other stamps on it. I didn't. So this is using TS 102. So I like to do, one of the things that I've started doing, she does look very different, Sally, with the ephemera around her, doesn't she, the ladybug? It's made a page. It's made a complete page. So one of the things that I like to do now is do a 12 by 12 page and play around with the stamps. I just stamp, cut out and play around and see how much I can do. How much can I come up with? So this is with TS 102. So again, it looks very seasonal. What kind of flowers? What can we do with that set? Okay, so this is what I've come up with. So bearing in mind, I know that I could at least come up with another 12 by 12 page, if not another couple of 12 by 12 pages. So this is what I came up with. And I do it in black and white because then you can see, you know, you can see what I've done. All the different, you know, all the different shapes of the flowers. And what about the Christmas tree? So the Christmas tree, if you look at the Christmas tree, that was made with the little petals. So the individual petals, I think it was this size one. I'm pretty sure it was this size. So we've got this size. I used some of the berries from here, and then I used the flower, and I think it was the little flower from here to create the little Christmas tree. How cute does that look? And then I literally just cut a little pot. But how cool does the Christmas tree look? So this is why I'm saying, so, you know, think about, you might not use this set for Christmas this year, but maybe you could get ahead, and if you've got some special cards to make, or you want to do a special scrapbook page, maybe the Christmas tree and some of the Christmas flowers would be fantastic to go on a really cool scrapbook page with your Christmas photos on Christmas Day around the tree. Who knows? Anyway, so that is my little Christmas tree, and you can see I've just done all different variations on the flowers just to see, right, what do they do? And bearing in mind, this is only using that set. So I have another sample to show you. I've got another couple of samples to show you actually, where I have used some of my older stamp sets with this to create very different looking flowers. Okay, very different looking flowers. So we'll get to that. So this is just using that stamp set, and I'm pretty sure that I could have quite easily done at least another page, if not another couple of pages. There are so many different variations, on this. The Christmas tree, I loved the Christmas tree. I knew straight away that I was going to do a Christmas tree. And it worked out better than I could have imagined. So, you know me, I don't like to do an actual theme. leaves could be used for holly. They certainly can, and that was kind of what I did on the reef sample. I kind of used them more as holly because I thought they would just work really well as holly because they've got that kind of shape to them. You kind of know me by now. I don't like to have something that's too themed. I like things that can be used as a theme, but I like things that you can do other things with so that you don't limit yourself. We don't want to limit ourselves. So this was another, so I'm going to show you this one next. This was another 12 by 12 that I did using the same stamp set. So this was just using 102. So just using 102. And I did this. And I don't think this looks seasonal at all. And I want to do this with some colours. I've done this in black and white, but I want to do this in colour. And I am pretty sure this is not going to look seasonal if I do this in colour, if I change the colours up. So I did this mandala. So I did it in black and white because it's much quicker for me to do it in black and white and just cut out and stick down. Okay, but I can imagine this. And of course, I've got all of those different, you know, I have all of these different flower combinations. I could do any of these flower combinations, okay? Any of those flower combinations could be used to create something like this. I find this very relaxing. I find it very relaxing to be stamping and cutting out. So you can see, I don't think that looks seasonal. I think it looks very pretty. I think it looks much more sort of spring, summer. And I think if you use the right colours to colour it in, I think it would look great. And I think you could then move away with the you know, with the seasonal vibe and get something that looks very, very different. So again, that was only using the stamps on that stamp set. If you bring in some of the other stamps, as I said, we've got, you know, if you brought in some of the stamps from 003, you know, some of these stamps would look fantastic on a mandala. You know, the small flowers, the little, you know, there are so many variations, we've, you know, so there are lots and lots of things that we can do that take it away from that seasonal vibe. Okay, so I have, I've got three more samples to show, I believe, or is it 4? 3 or 4? 3. I've got 3 more samples to show. Excellent. You've got it on your wall. Lots of people forget about the older sets, and I do get it. Lots of people forget about them. I forget about them sometimes, you know, but I'm kind of trying to make a conscious effort to be using some of my older stamp sets, to actually get those older stamp sets out and be using those as well. Because, you know, as I said, we are really, really lucky that PaperArtsy don't discontinue. Because they, and because, oh, I'm throwing it around. Because they don't discontinue, you know, we're very lucky that we can do that. So I'm trying to make a conscious effort. You know, we spend a lot of money, don't we? We spend a lot of money on our stamps and stencils, and we want to be able to use them as much as possible. So I've got 3 more journal pages to show you, and then that is going to be it for tonight. So let me lift this one up. So this, as you can see, very simple journal page, but it's using the frames. So you can see I've used the Polaroid frames, I've used the little mini girls, and I've used the 2 different size mini flowers. And then I've coloured those with my coloured pencils. But how cute does that look? And then we've got 2 older stamps in the background. I like to use my older stuff. I don't like to just be using my new stuff. So the background, like the background on this is from, let me have a look. It is from, yes it is. It is from stamp set 98. So stamp set 98, you can see I used this little small stamp up in the corner. So this little small stamp is what I used to create this background with gold embossing, because why not? Oh, definitely, Sally. This could definitely work as a scrapbook page. You could definitely do something like this and interpret this into a scrapbook page. As I said, the girls just work really well in there. And then the centre, so you can see the blue in the centre. So this is, I believe, electric violet paint colour. The blue is cerulean, and both of those patterns are done with stamp set 98. So I've used, you've got this kind of line stamp in there, and we've got this little small stamp, and I used both of those. Okay, so you can see I need to add some splatter to this. I've not added some splatter, and I will probably add some sort of writing to the boxes as well. I've not done that yet. Again, this was one that I finished today, so it's got a couple of bits needs finishing off, but I think it's a pretty cool. I think it's a pretty cool page. We've got some, you know, we've got some coloured pencil colouring. We've got some painting. It's got a little bit of everything. But as I said, you can use those frames for so much. And as we said, you know, I've done that. I've stamped with those girls, those mini stamps. But you could put a quote in those. You know, you could have a little quote into those. You could have, you know, there's lots of butterflies and bumblebees and, you know, bugs. I've got different bugs on different stamp sets. I know on one of my fish set, I've got a small dragonfly that would work really well. So there's lots of different things that you can put into those frames, okay, and use those, as well as quotes, as well as photos. So this is what I'm saying about it would make a really good scrapbook page, because you could put photos into those as well. So that would work really well. So I've got two pages left to show. 2 pages. So this is my first one. 2 more pages to go. So this one, this is a single page spread. This is using set 102. It's also using set 003. I've also used, you can see in the background there, I have used set TS63. So TS63 is the snowflakes. So I've used the snowflakes. In the background, we've used some fluorescent pink. You can see I've got the dots. So the dots are in the background there. I have used in the background, I don't know if you can see, but in the background we have got the pebbles. So the pebbles are in the background, and so is the expanding flower stencil. So both of the new stencils are in the background. We've also got a couple of the mini stamps are in the background. We've also got the snowflakes from set 63. We have the flowers, the same with the headdress. We've got the flowers from set 102, which is the new set. So you can see here, we've got the larger flowers are from set 102. Then we've got the smaller flowers here are from set 003. So you can see how well they work together. And then the smaller flower again is from the new 102. I've also got, you can see my wording that I've got on here is from the little mini alphabet. So quite a lot of different stamps, old and new, and stencils, new stencils, but I've used quite a lot on this page. Mixing and matching. Should always be able to mix and match, mix and match, mix and match. And I think my stuff, as I kind of progress through, there's always something. I just see, yeah, the stones is in there too. Yeah, the stones is in the background. Leandra, we've got the stones are, I don't know if you can, you probably can't see. I'll take a close-up picture. We'll take a close-up picture. But the little stones are in the background as well on this one. The expanding flower is on this one as well. A little bit different colours for me as well. I don't tend to do a lot kind of blues and purples, but I just really liked the way that this one looked. And of course I've got that pop of pink, so you know, what can I say? You've got to have it in there. So that's that one. And then I've got one more sample to show. One more sample. This one I just need to add some splatter. This is almost finished. I just need to add some splatter. This one uses, again, it uses a lot of stencils, a lot of stamps. And I used that. So this one, I changed it up a little bit. This was one of the ones that I changed up. I want to show you this. So I used 102. So 102, obviously, we look at 102 and we think it's very seasonal. It does look very, you know, it does look very Christmassy. It has got that kind of seasonal vibe to it. I totally get that. So what I've done for this sample, I've used a mix of this one. So 102. I've also used 003 again, because it just works really well with that stamp. But for this one, this is where I've used all the cogs and gears. So I've used the cogs and gears, the little screw heads from number 74. So I've used those, okay? Because I wanted to give it a very, very different look, okay? So this, let me just put this over because you don't need to see that because it will distract. Let me just click that over, because otherwise we're going to get distracted by the other page. I've done this one. So this is my little steampunk cat. So, and you can see those flowers no longer, to me, they do not look seasonal anymore. They've got a very steampunk vibe to them. You can see in the background, we have the little pebbles, the little stones in all three sizes. So all three sizes in the background on this one. You can see I've got the three sizes of the stones in the background. I've also got the swirl in gold. So you can see that's been stamped in gold and embossed. I've also got the little alphabet. So you can see the alphabet is in there as well, just as a background stamp. You know, no more than that. It's just there as a little background. Okay. But don't the flowers look very different by using the steampunk elements? I think it makes it look very, very different. So straight away, I'm not looking at that now and thinking that that is a seasonal, you know, that's a seasonal Christmas stamp set. I can see that there is a lot of other things that can be done with it. So if you're into your steampunk stuff, if you've got any of my other steampunk stamps, or any, you know, any brand, you know, any other steampunk stamps, you can use these flowers with that. They are going to work with that. Okay, they're going to enhance it. So that's my last sample. So steampunk flowers. So we've got steampunk flowers, very steampunk vibe from my little steampunk kitty cat. I think makes it look very, very different. So let's just very, very quickly, that's my last sample. So very quickly, let's just go through the stamps and stencils again, just remind you of what we've got, and then we will sign off for the evening. So we have TS 102. So 102, that is the seasonal flowers, but now we know that they are not seasonal at all. We can use them for lots and lots of other things. So I hope that it has given you some inspiration. Of course, if you check out the blog, a lot of the photos on there and a lot of the additional stamp sets that I've used or minis that I've used are listed on there. You can see them properly on the blog post. So do check that out if you're, you know, trying to remember which ones I used, okay? Because it is listed on the blog post. So TS 102, that is the seasonal flowers that are not quite so seasonal. Then we have TS 103. So 103 is the ephemera frames. Again, we can use this for lots and lots of different things. We can, you know, and we can use it with lots of our previous mini stamps, lots of our previous quote stamps, etc., etc. You know, I'm kind of thinking I've got a couple of quote stamps, for instance, you know, something like this. If I cut this down, I'm pretty sure if I cut this down, I can fit this into my frame. Okay, or maybe just one word. You know, one word could fit into the ticket. If I wanted to put believe and I wanted to put believe into the ticket, I could cut it out and use it for that. So 103 is the ephemera and frames. Then we have PS 489. So 489 is the expanding flower. So the expanding flower, again, you can use it in your background. I have used it in the background on some of my pages, but I have also used it as a cut page. You could use it to doodle. You can use it to colour in. You know, you can stamp into it. You can use it for your gel plate. You know, lots and lots of different ways that you can use this one. So that is PS 489. And then we have PS 490. So 490 is the pebbles, the stones, 3 different sizes, coffee beans, whatever you want to call them. So that one, or they can obviously be used in your backgrounds. You could emboss them, you could stamp into them, you could use them on your gel plate. Lots and lots of different things that you can do with those. Okay, they're always those. I find those kind of shapes always just work really well when you're working in, you know, on a project, a journal, or, you know, whatever you're working on. So, and then we have the minis. So let's just go through the minis again. TSM 33. So that is the scribble script. Works fantastic in the background. You could make it more of a focal, you know, on a page, or you could just use it as a mixed media background stamp. So TSM 34, that is the swirl. We love a swirl. That one works really well. I've done that in a couple of different ways, used it in different projects. That is just going to be a really good addition. TSM 34, which is the swirl. Then we've got TSM 35. So 35 is the dots. We all need dots. We all need dots in our life. Morning, Alison. We all need dots in our life. That's going to work as well. We did the whole page, so we did a full page, but we also just used it in the black, with black in the background. And of course, you could use it in different colours as well. Okay, TSM 36. So 36, that is the small flowers. We did the patterns with those. We also did the gold embossing with those. We also did them and cut them out and used them just as they are. We use them as flowers, and we use them on our frames page with the girls. Okay, so you can use them like that as well. So that's number 36. So TSM 37, that is the squares. So the solid squares, again, fantastic in the background, but really does give a very, very different look. That one is going to be a new favourite, I can tell already. So TSM 37. Then we've got TSM 38. So TSM 38 is the little robin. I'm going to do a project with him where I change up the colours so that he doesn't look like a robin anymore. I'm gonna do that. He will always also, like, so just the top of him, he will, because I did stamp it out. I should have brought it upstairs. I did stamp it out, but the top of him will also fit in the frame, the Polaroid frame. He will fit in there. Not the whole thing, but the top of him will fit in the Polaroid frame. So you can stamp him into that as well. So TS 39. So 39 is the small butterfly and small bumblebee. Again, you can use these to make patterns. You can use them to make mandalas. You can use them just as a focal point. You know, just to add a little detail. Add details. I did these gold embossed. I did them as patterns. I did them in a mandala. Lots and lots of different ways that you can use those. They do fit inside the Polaroid frames as well. So they they fit in the Polaroid frame, so they're more additions that you can put inside the frames. And then the last one, TSM 40, is the little mini, like the little mini alphabet. So the little mini alphabet, of course, you can use that in the background. You can use it to spell out words, as I've done on some of my pages. You know, and it works, you know. Wording, any kind of words, letters, numbers, they just work fantastically in a background, whether it's gold embossed, whether it's in black ink, whether it's in white ink, you know, always going to work. So always really, really handy to have. So that's it. That's my release for tonight. That is my last release of the year, and I believe it's the last release this week. I'm pretty sure it was just myself and Alison this week. So I hope that you enjoyed. I do go and check out the blog post, because most of what I've shown tonight, there's a couple of samples which are not on there, but most of the samples that I've shown tonight are on there, and it does talk as well about the older stamp sets that I have used. It does set out what those stamp sets are, so you haven't got to try and remember or go back through the video to try and remember which ones I used. Also, as well, obviously, at the bottom of the blog post, it does list all of the current stockists, so you'll be able to see there. Also, you can check out, obviously, the feed. The feed from tonight. Lots of the retailers are online tonight, and they have said that where they're from and where they're shipping from, and they've got links to their stores. So do check those. Do check out your locals. Most stores, I believe, have them in stock, ready to go. They are ready to ship out. So do check them out. I hope that you've enjoyed. I took a little bit longer again than I thought I was going to. I didn't think I was going to be quite so long tonight, but, you know, there we go. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for all of your support this year. You know, it's been amazing. It's been a very, very busy year. It's gone very fast. I can't quite believe that we're actually in October already. So I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for all your support this year. Thank you to PaperArtsy for all their support this year. And I will see you very, very soon. I do have a live happening. I believe my live is the 20th of November. I'm not 100% sure what I'm going to do on that live yet, but I will be doing a live demo on the 20th of November. So, and that will be here on the PaperArtsy People page. So, but I'll talk about that nearer the time. Once I've sorted out exactly what I'm going to do, we'll talk about that nearer the time. So thank you so much for joining me. I will see you very, very soon. Yeah, thank you for all your support. Bye bye.